All right. Hello, and welcome to another edition of our community conversations. It's a beautiful evening, so thank you to everyone who is here and those of you watching at home for taking time out on this beautiful fall night. And also within the first couple weeks of school. No, September is always a big transition year, or transitional time of the year. So thanks for taking the time to join. I'm City Councillor Ann Stevenson. I have the honor of representing Ward O'Damon, which is at the heart of our city. O'Damon is an Anishinaabe word that really speaks to our ward being at the very center and the very heart of Edmonton. I am delighted to spend a bit of time to start off just sharing some updates, and then very happy to take questions. So those of you here in person, you can just raise your hand. Those of you online, feel free to tap it into the chat. I have my team here helping out and monitoring, so just throw your thoughts and questions into the chat and we'll be sure to get to them. So I wanted to start just by acknowledging the lands on which we're gathered tonight. Treaty 6 territory has been marked for millennia by generations of Indigenous peoples, and so many of us who are settlers and new Canadians are very privileged to also now occupy this space. I think ongoing learning and conversations are helping us to live into the spirit and intent of treaty, which I still believe is a solid foundation for the good relations that can exist in our community. A hot topic, and probably the thing I hear about most, is around transit safety and downtown safety. These are areas where we've had challenges over the past few years. During the pandemic, we lost so much activity in the downtown. We also saw a huge rise in homelessness, so the number of people experiencing homelessness doubled over the pandemic. And for a system that I would suggest was already fairly stretched, that type of growth in the number of people experiencing homelessness just totally overwhelmed the supports that we had in place. So I always try to acknowledge and recognize that we have made progress. When I think about the conditions of the downtown shortly after the election, in December 2021, it was truly bleak. It was a very challenging time. And I think about all the progress we've made since then. This summer saw more festivals downtown than we had pre-pandemic. I don't know if anyone was able to take in Symphony on the Square, but 15,000 people in Churchill Square was incredible. All the festivals, all the activities, and all the new businesses too that are popping up. So I never want to lose sight of that, and again, the really positive successes we're seeing. But that's not to deny the challenges that we still have. For some, transit still does not feel like a safe place to be. Downtown can feel like a not safe place to be for some. And so that's something that we're continuing to work relentlessly on addressing. I'm really, really excited by the progress we've been able to track through our monthly updates on downtown and transit safety. So we've had a cross-disciplinary team with City of Edmonton, our peace officers, our fire rescue team, also Edmonton Police Services, and Alberta Health Services, and social serving agencies as well, like Venterro Traditional Healing Society. And what's been so great about their collaboration is really their ability to better connect people to services and pathways out of homelessness or other challenges that people might be experiencing, while at the same time also freeing up resources so that those resources can be put to the maximum effect. So I've been really pleased to see a number of criminal investigations that EPS has been able to do, really focused on those who are preying on and victimizing people who are currently marginalized. And also, the collaboration with paramedics on the ground in the downtown has led to a huge diversion of ambulance calls. So again, freeing up those resources for the rest of the community. So again, for me, really speaking about how, if all of us aren't if all of our needs aren't met, then none of our needs get met. We really truly need to meet everyone's needs so that we can all thrive. I've also been so encouraged this summer. I don't know if others have noticed, but I see it on a daily basis. With support from the provincial government, which is so welcome, we've been able to increase our cleanup crews in the downtown. And the teams doing this work are just outstanding. So if you are anywhere in what's sort of called Center City, so downtown, parts of Oliver, up into Central McDougall as well, and Queen Mary Park in areas, every single shrub bed has been recently pruned. There's new wood chips. I know these sound like small things. Planters everywhere, patch sidewalks. The crews are really doing a phenomenal job of keeping things clean and making a really big impact that way. You know, as a city, it can be a bit challenging. I think we're often left dealing with the symptoms of broader issues that we're not equipped to deal with alone. But working on those pieces that we can control, making sure that we do have effective responses, it's been really great to see that come together, and I really appreciate all the commitment from those teams. Another big thing I want to make sure everyone's aware of, or if those who have reached out to me, I really appreciate it. And this is the zoning bylaw renewal. So this is a really big piece of work. It's overhauling our regulatory framework that has been in place for 50 years at least, and a lot of those regulations come from even earlier than that. It's a huge job, but one that I'm incredibly excited about. I think that the intent of really looking at how we ensure our zoning bylaw aligns with our city plan and our vision is very exciting. There's been a lot of engagement on this, a lot of project history, so if you haven't been looped into that yet, I encourage you to check out the webpage, and that's going to be coming to public hearing on October 13th. October 13th. I will fact check that actually, because now I'm questioning myself, but we'll get the date. I encourage you to take part and learn more about that. Another really exciting piece of news I can share as of yesterday, I know that noisy vehicles are a huge challenge in our ward and across the city. I live close to the High Level Bridge, so I hear the racing all the time. I know others of you may live close to Grote Road, experience it there. Coming over the river in Riverdale, very, very noisy vehicles across the ward. Yesterday at council, I was successful in getting a motion passed that an unfunded service package will come forward, a budget for a dedicated traffic enforcement team at the city. So these would be peace officers who would be able to stop noisy vehicles, stop vehicles that are speeding in our communities as well, and just really help bolster that side of our traffic safety. So very excited about that, but that will be dependent on our budget deliberations, which is the other really big thing on the horizon. So we have what's called a fall supplementary operating budget adjustment and also a capital budget adjustment. What that means is we pass a 4-year budget. That's what we got done last December. But in every year of those 4 years, we have an adjustment process that happens in the fall and also the spring. That's just, to tweak for emerging issues, new opportunities may come up, or there may be cost pressures that weren't anticipated. That, unfortunately, is very much the position we're in right now. There have been, as many of you have probably experienced, pretty significant inflationary pressures on household budgets, on utilities. We've seen some arbitrated settlements which have increased the wage of some City of Edmonton employees, which was greater than expected and is creating some budgetary challenges or pressures there. So we had a budget update yesterday, which really highlighted the fine balancing act that we're going to have to walk this fall. But I feel a lot of confidence after our 4-year budget together really successfully to deliver a budget that serves Edmontonians, and I'm confident that we'll be able to do the same in a couple months' time. Those are, oh, and just in terms of my budget priorities, really wanting to make sure that we carry on that downtown cleanliness, making sure that we're getting the resources we need for downtown and transit safety, and then also the noisy vehicles. So lots more to come on that. One last item I'll flag, and then very happy to open it up for questions online and in person. The city has recently released an interface that allows you to look at the 2021 federal census. The statistics are so interesting, so many fascinating aspects about our own community that I didn't even know about. So I really encourage you to check that out. I'm going to be sharing a blog about that in coming weeks. But just want to flag that if you are a census nerd like me, there is just a phenomenal interface that the city has released. So encourage you to check that out and learn more about your community. So with that, happy to take some questions. We can start online if anything has come in. Great.
So we have a couple of questions. The first one is on bike lanes and the $100 million spend for bike lanes. Where are you on that?
That's an investment that I continue to feel is really important for us to make as a city. One of the things I look for when making budgetary decisions is what are the long-term impacts and outcomes? Does the investment save us money in the long run? And investment in bike lanes absolutely helps us to achieve that. By reducing demands on our road infrastructure, we decrease those operating costs and those capital costs as well. I also think it's a really important investment in our climate change goals, reducing our emissions, and also just a great way to support safe mobility for a range of different users. I think what the evidence has shown in Edmonton, not to mention across many jurisdictions, is that if you build the infrastructure, people truly do come. We have seen significant increases in the number of people biking in the downtown. I think there's a very unique moment right now as well, as more and more people are adopting e-bikes as a way to get around. So we're seeing the growth and demand for protected bike infrastructure. So something I continue to be really supportive of. I think it's an important question. I think I often get asked, there's so many other urgent needs. Why aren't you spending that $100 million on other things? So I think an important clarification is that, bike lanes, the $100 million, like a lot of our other road infrastructure and other capital projects that we build, is using debt financing. And so debt financing, what that means, we're very limited in terms of what we can spend debt financing on. So it has to be an asset that the city owns, and it has to be a tangible asset, like a physical asset. It can't be for programs or other things like that. And I think just keeping the context of the cost of borrowing as well, which is another really important consideration. But $100 million in loan equates to about $7 million in interest. And again, because we didn't take out the $100 million all at once, even that cost is spread out over time. So again, not that it's negligible or something that we don't need to consider, but on the whole, I think it's a very worthwhile investment and something I'm excited to start seeing roll out. So for those of you who maybe haven't been noticing a ton of new bike lanes springing up, the teams are working on the designs and the planned rollout of those. We're looking forward to an update on that soon, but more of that physical infrastructure that you'll start to see come 2024. Thanks. Anything, maybe we'll go to the room and then we can go back online. All right. Yeah.
I wonder if
great question, great question. So the National Urban Park Program is a federal program very much in its infancy. There's only one National Urban Park in all of Canada. This is an opportunity for the city to receive a designation and through that be able to access federal funding. So that to me is the biggest value proposition, to be honest. We can access some federal funding to invest and help maintain and further strengthen our river valley. The reason I think it's such a great opportunity is that the purpose of the National Urban Park Program has three main purposes. It's preservation of nature, connection to nature, and reconciliation. All three of those objectives align very strongly with the work we're already doing in the river valley. So there's really no we don't have to change what we would be doing anyways. We're just being able to potentially access funding and also put Edmonton on a map as a destination and really showcase the jewel that is our river valley. I think the biggest concern I've heard from individuals is that we will lose autonomy or that the federal government will take over the river valley, that we might have to pay fees like we have to pay fees when we go to Jasper or Banff. You know, we have asked multiple times, you know, in some of our public meetings with representatives from the federal government, from Parks Canada, and the answer has been consistently like, absolutely no, that's not the intent. And even if it were to come to a case where, you know, somehow that ended up being a proposed model, I've heard very clearly, so myself included, I would just say no. We are under no obligation to carry through. So if that ever became a condition or part of the plan, we would just choose to not proceed as a city. Maybe just to explain where we are in the process, we did a pre-feasibility phase, which was just, you know, a general exploration if this would be a possibility. Council recently agreed to move to the planning phase, which is a non-binding exploratory exercise where we can get a lot of the questions, the very valid questions that both council and Edmontonians have, and continue to see whether this is a good fit. We can walk away at any point. We're receiving federal dollars to support those efforts, so it's not directly costing Edmontonians to be exploring that option. So again, I think I will never say no to investment for things that we're already doing anyways, but something we'll be watching closely and make sure that it does align with Edmontonians' values and priorities. And on that, there will be lots of opportunities for engagement as we go through the planning process. Thank you for the question.
Question number 2 from online has to do with transit safety, and specifically whether or not the city is still considering fare gates for the transit system.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, as I mentioned it off the top, transit safety continues to be a major priority. You know, I'm a regular LRT user, and I can certainly report that I've noticed a shift, probably especially in the last 2 months. So continuing to see those gains and continuing to see those improvements, and again, that's through collaboration with our transit peace officers, security guards, Edmonton Police Service, and our social service agencies as well through our community outreach and transit teams. So just want to give a huge shout out to all of those partners. It's none of us can do it alone. So again, the success we're seeing is part of that partnership. In terms of fare gating, I think, you know, it's an idea that comes up often. There are a few challenges. The first is that does come at quite a high cost to install that machinery and then to maintain it over time. The other challenge is that in our LRT system downtown, a lot of the spaces, the underground spaces and tunnels, are not actually areas where you require proof of payment, and so we could put gates to limit people being able to go down onto the platform, but that wouldn't preclude people from being in the pedway system as well. So I don't know if that's fully addressing the challenge. The other issue is that sort of outside the downtown, outside of the tunnels.
We're back.
Okay. Okay, I think we're back. Hello, hello again to those in the virtual world. Sorry for that. All right, I think we just had a question from online, so why don't we go back to the room? Yes.
Whereas maybe you can, I know you talked a little bit at the beginning about encampments in the context of downtown safety and transit safety, but I think we're seeing more tents in and around Westmount, so if you could speak a little bit to what's happening there, I think that'll be really appreciated.
Sure, yeah. So the question was just around encampments and just noting that, starting to see more tents around Westmount where we are today. So, that's certainly a huge challenge. I mentioned at the beginning just around the huge number of people who are experiencing homelessness and needing to have access to that space or needing access to housing. So where I would encourage you to look is on my website, where I have quite extensive information about the approach we're taking. I am struggling to answer a little bit, to be honest. For those of you who may not know, the city was served with an injunction to prevent us from removing encampments. So at this point, we need to understand how that plays out. But I would encourage you to check out my website. I think, fundamentally we want to ensure that everyone has a safe place to live and that our communities are safe for everyone. I think encampments, they're not safe or dignified places for people to live in, and they also do have significant impacts on surrounding residents and businesses. So absolutely something we need to address with all of our partners. So appreciate the question.
I'm gonna have to pull up the other.
Oh yeah, we'll go back online. Is there another question online?
I was gonna pull up one of the other ones from the chat before it froze.
Oh, right. Sorry, we were just switching over to, we lost some questions when we lost the stream, but we might have them coming back.
We actually answered that one. Yeah. Would you survey your constituents on decisions that you've taken in a similar way to Councillor Rice?
Oh, yeah, I hadn't been aware that Councillor Rice had done that survey. Yeah, I mean, I think hearing from residents is a key part of the decision-making process. And sorry, just to clarify, that's like asking retroactively?
Yeah.
Or, oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think the best survey of how people feel about the decisions I've made is at the election. I think that's a way to let me know very clearly, thoughts on the choices I've made during my time. I really like to connect with people sort of prior to the decision-making process to understand, what they want me to be considering. But yeah, I mean, surveys are always interesting. I think that I really appreciate people who take the time to reach out after a decision's made to, share their frustration or why they feel I should have made a different decision, or to say that they're pleased that I made this decision I did. So that's the type of feedback that I'm always happy to receive and collect. And yeah, always welcome people to send that through. Right.
Do you know the name of Edmonton's survey?
Oh,
Insight, right?
yeah, the Insight Community. So that's a great survey tool. I think the other reason I'm hesitating is that, getting a representative sample, that's always a challenge with surveys. What a tool like the Edmonton Insight Community does is it's a much larger pool. It's a great way if you are a citizen who wants to be more actively engaged to share your perspectives. You can sign up and you'll be sent surveys on a regular basis on a range of different topics. So it's just a tool, if city staff are working on a project, they want to get some input rather than having to create their own survey list or get people to sign up. they just make use of this common pool. So it's a fun thing to do. I used to do it before moving into this position, and something I'd encourage people to sign up for. Anything from the room?
I'm wondering if you can tell me a little bit about what council has done to help support businesses in BIAs outside of downtown. 'Cause it seems like downtown gets a lot of attention, but I know our 124th Street BIA also has some struggles. Wondering if you can tell us a bit about what is happening there.
Yeah, great question. So the question was just sort of how are we supporting all BIAs, not just the downtown and Chinatown, for example. So yeah, our ward is rich in BIAs. We have the downtown, North Edge, downtown, North Edge, Chinatown, 124th Street, and Kingsway, and then also a little bit of the Alberta Avenue business improvement area as well. So certainly a lot of the funding and supports have been focused on downtown and Chinatown, but there are a lot of other grants that are available to businesses across the ward. Something that I'm pleased to have championed and helped to move forward was a grant program for businesses that had been experiencing vandalism, broken windows primarily. So that was initially focused on downtown and Chinatown, but it's now expanded to other BIAs immediately. So North Edge and also 124th Street. So really pleased to see that happen. The other ways we've been able to support business. So I know that's been an issue on 124th Street recently. So really pleased that has been expanded. I think something else that's really evident along 124th Street are the patios. So that's a program that City Council has continued. We, it's very, very low fees for folks to be able for restaurants and businesses to be able to set those up. Still, I know some businesses in previous years have struggled with getting permits, but I think that's working more smoothly this year. Some of the other ways the city supports, so we have had staff that support BIAs at the City of Edmonton, but more recently we've introduced an infrastructure specialist. So often when BIAs want to do activities or they're having, maybe challenges with their sidewalks, something like that, it's been very hard for them to navigate through the city. But a new position has been created, an infrastructure specialist who works with BIAs to help address some of those physical challenges. So again, another great approach. We continue to have a range of development incentives for BIAs, for mixed use or commercial redevelopment. And sorry, I'm just going through, I put together a one-pager sort of all the different business grants that are available. There's the economic recovery grants as well. So quite a few of those pieces, which I think are us doing our best to support businesses.
Right. This is actually a follow-up from online on that one.
Okay.
And might actually tie in with that infrastructure specialist that's coming on for the patios. But is there anything sort of happening around making sure that when patios are put in, they are not as difficult for people with accessibility issues to navigate?
Yeah, and to be honest, that's a really interesting tension point, because I do hear both sides. So some businesses will say, they'll be experiencing a lot of frustration because they maybe can't get a permit because the width of the remaining sidewalk isn't quite meeting the city standards. Whereas again, you have other folks who, have a real challenge in navigating the sidewalks that are narrower than those standards. So, the teams have been working really closely with those businesses to make sure that the right balance can be struck, looking to ensure there's an adequate, clear path for those that, again, not only in wheelchairs or walkers, but have strollers or wagons, to make sure that people can be reasonably accommodated. If you do know of a spot that's a particularly tricky point or a pinch point, don't hesitate to reach out and let me know, and we can follow up and see if that can get resolved. I think something that is really helping is the city has made it easier for restaurants to take over some of the street or use that as a diversion. Again, that is done. There are fewer barriers to doing that. So I've been noticing a lot more businesses are taking that route, which can give them more space, but also make sure that there is a remaining pathway for those that need it. Great. I'm just looking. We've still got a bit of time. Any last questions from the crowd? Okay, we're looking satisfied here. That's great. Anything else online?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'll maybe chat a little bit more, and please don't hesitate to send your last questions through. We don't have to stop, but yeah, you know, I'm coming up on halfway through my term, so that's you know, October will be the 2-year milestone, which is pretty incredible. It feels both like election night was yesterday and that I have been in this role forever. So certainly still learning a lot every day. I really appreciate everyone's patience with me as I got up to speed, all the insights that you've shared with me in terms of what your priorities are. I truly feel so honored, so blessed to be in this role. I enjoy it. It's challenging. There can be hard days, but it is also the most exciting work that I've had the honor of doing. So thank you all so much for continuing to be part of that. Thank you to my outstanding team who makes it all possible. Jane, Robbie, Maria, again, I couldn't do it without you. Very, very grateful. And again, grateful to all of you for taking the time to join tonight, and for everyone who takes the time to reach out. Very much appreciated. No last questions? All right, well, we will sign off. Thank you again so much, and good night.